Welcome to this section. In this particular section, we are going to build our first application with the help of Redux toolkit using create async thing, that is cocktail application, where we are going to list all the cocktail by making third-party API request using create async thing. So we are going to show all the cocktails in our homepage. As you can see that this third-party API return around more than 20 cocktails. You can see that on homepage, and you can also view the single cocktail in order to read more information about that particular cocktail. So if you click on this details button, so you will navigate toward the single cocktail page where you can get the more detail about this specific cocktail. And if you click on go back, you will navigate back to the home page. Now you can also search the specific cocktail. So I'm going to give here keyword like Adam. So you can see that with the Adam keyword, it's returned 4 cocktails. So we have also implemented this searching functionality in our cocktail application with Redux toolkit only. So overall, this application we are going to build in this section with Redux toolkit using create async middleware. And before we start building this application, first we will understand little bit about create async middleware, and that we will understand in next video. So I will see you in the next video where we are going to discuss about this create async middleware. Then we will start building this application. Create async. So in Redux, whenever we have to perform asynchronous task, we use middleware. And middleware could be anything. It could be either Redux Thunk or Redux Saga to perform asynchronous task. And Redux Thunk middleware is a popular package with the Redux. And with Redux toolkit, Redux Thunk is included by default, allowing create async thunk to perform asynchronous logic before sending the process result to the reducer. So here we have our sample code, and I will give you the brief overview of this sample code. So now I will first talk about this create slice. So a slice is a function that contains your store and reducer function used to modify store data. So overall, inside this create slice API, we write our redux logic. So here you can see that we have one name property. So this is nothing but it is a slice name. So first we have to provide a slice name inside this create slice. Then we have to provide initial state. So here we define our initial state for our application. So here you can see that we have initial state like entities and loading false. Now we have a reducer object here. So inside this reducer object, we handle synchronous requests that made to the store. Now we have an extra reducer. So in extra reducer, we handle asynchronous request, which is our main focus. So asynchronous request created with create async thunk accept 3 parameters. The first parameter will be the action type string, and the second parameter will be a function that return a promise and generate a thunk that dispatch pending, fulfilled or rejected action type based on that promise. And the third will be the option object, in which basically we provide a different configuration to our create async thunk API, but the third parameter is an optional here. So whenever this action get dispatched from a component within our application, so create async thunk generated 3 promise life cycle using the same action type string as a prefix. So here you can see that it's generated, pending, fulfilled and rejected. And all this life cycle we basically evaluate inside our extra reducer. So all this 3 promise life cycle that is generated by create async thunk is going to evaluate inside our extra reducer. So generally what happened, so on initial call, create async thunk will dispatch this action type, okay, that is a pending, and then we will have our payload creator which will execute to return either a result or error. So in case of error, create async thunk will dispatch an action with rejected, and if our data fetch is successful, then create async thunk will dispatch this action type that is fulfilled. And all 3 promise lifecycle we will be evaluating inside this extra reducer object, where we make our desired changes to the store. Okay, so this is all about the now I am in this directory, and I am going to open a command prompt here. So let's open one command prompt, and I'm going to create a project with the command npx create react app and the project name. So the project name will be redux toolkit cocktail. So I'm going to give this project name, and I will hit enter. So I think I have used npm, so it will be npx, not npm. So let's change this one and let's hit enter, and it will take around 2 to 3 minutes to install all the necessary dependency, and I'll be back once all the dependency got installed. So it's look like our project setup is now completed. So first let's go into this directory, that is redux toolkit cocktail. So let's go into this directory first. And guys, we need to install some dependency. Before I do npm start, so let's install those packages first. So the packages we are going to work like React Router DOM. We need React Router DOM to build this application, React Redux, and the most important thing is Redux Toolkit. Okay, so Redux JS slash toolkit. And guys, only this much packages is required to build this application with the help of Redux Toolkit. So let's wait for this package installation, and I'll be back once all the package got installed. So guys, our all package got installed now. So I will do npm start, and this project I have already opened in the Visual Studio Code. So let's go back to the Visual Studio Code, and now you can see that our project compiled successfully. So let's go into the browser. So you can see that we don't have any issue, and let's set up the material design bootstrap as well in our application. So we are going to use the style sheet. So what I will do, so what you have to do, you have to just go to this link, okay, and you have to just copy this part. So we are going to use the style sheet of the material design bootstrap 5 for this application. And let's go into the Visual Studio Code. So I have copied this style sheet, okay, and in public index.html we have to just paste it here, okay. So we are done with the setup of material design bootstrap. What we have to do, so let's first remove all this content and just give like hello react, okay. So let's see whether it's reflecting or not. So it's reflecting the changes whatever we have made here. And now we are going to basically structure our application first. So guys, let's structure this application first. So I'm going to create a folder with the component. So we are going to have one folder with the components. Then we are going to have one folder with the pages. And the last folder we are going to have the redux. Okay. And in the component folder, we are going to have some files. Okay. So first we will be working on the file header. Okay. So header.js, and in pages we are going to have two files, okay. Index.js, basically in this file we are going to display all the cocktail list with the help of redux toolkit, and the second file we are going to have that is for single cocktail. So basically it will hold the detail of the single cocktail, and as of now just generate the snippet, okay. And inside this index.js, so it will be like home only, so home, and inside this we are going to have first search input, okay. So first component will be the search input, and the second component we are going to have the cocktail list, okay, cocktail list. And let's give here title like home, and this will be the single cocktail. Let's generate the snippet, and let's give the title single cocktail, okay. And in app.js, let's first define all this route, okay. So let's remove this logo, and here we are going to have home. So home we can bring like this way, and we are going to have single cocktail, okay. And for registering the route, we are going to use the React router DOM. So from React router DOM, we need two things, that is route and routes. So React router DOM recently got changed. So earlier we used to import the switch from the React router DOM in order to navigate between the different URL. But React router DOM now got changed, so you don't need to import the switch. Instead you have to import the routes. Okay. So some of the changes has been made in the React router DOM, and here what we are going to do. So first we are going to have the routes, and we are going to register the route. So first we are going to register the home route, and we can give the path here. So exact also not required with this routes. Okay, so you don't have to provide the exact keyword as well. And instead of component we give elements. Okay, and you have to pass the component like this way. Okay, and the second route will be the single cocktail. So it will be having the cocktail, and we have to also provide the ID. So based on the ID, user will able to see the single cocktail detail, and this will be the single cocktail detail component. Okay, so we have configured the routes here, and the last routing configuration is required in our index.js file. So here we need to bring the browser router from React router DOM. So let's bring the browser router, and let's wrap this app with browser router, and let's cut this app and paste it inside this browser router opening and closing tag. And let's just give some content here in header as well. So this will be the header. Okay, and so let's go into the browser and verify whether this route is getting registered or not. So home route is registered, and let's verify the single cocktail route is working or not. So we can give like cocktail something random ID. So this is not working. Let's go into the Visual Studio Code. So we have given the cocktail. Okay, spelling mistake. So this will be the cocktail. Okay, let's go into the browser. Now you can see that this single cocktail route is registered, and we have got this single cocktail as a title. So you can see that in the browser URL we have provided the ID. So routing is set up in our application. Now we are going to start working on the header component. So in header.js file, what we are going to do, so it will have a very basic content in the header.js file. So since we are using the style sheet of the material design bootstrap 5, so we are going to use the class name. So the class name is like navbar light, then busy light, and this will be the fixed top. Okay, so this class name we are going to use. Then we are going to have another div with the class name container fluid, and inside that we are going to have with the span keyword, and we are going to have another class name. So the class name will be like with the span tag, and the class name will be navbar brand, and margin bottom -0 h1, then header -title, then text success. Okay, so this will be the class name for span tag, and we can give here like find your favorite cocktail. Okay, so this is the very basic content that we have in our header.js file. Okay, and this one will be the nav. Okay, not div. So let's make change this one. So we are done with this header component. So this much only content required for the header.js file, and I'm going to paste the CSS code in the index.css file. So I'm going to paste the CSS code for this index.css file. Okay, and let's go into the app.js, and in app.js first we need to bring the header component. So VS Code automatically put this header component, and let's go into the browser and verify whether this header component is working or not. So you can see that we have got this nice header. Find your favorite on the displaying the cocktail list. So first we are going to set up the Redux toolkit in our application. So guys, let's set up the Redux toolkit in our application. So inside this Redux folder we are going to have another folder that is called features. Okay, and inside the Redux, in this we are going to have one file that is store.js, and inside this feature we are going to have the file cocktail slice. Okay, since we are working with the cocktail in this application, so the file name will be like cocktail slice. Okay, so in the cocktail slice we are going to make all the asynchronous requests, and we will update the store. Okay, so first we need to bring create slice and create async thing from the Redux toolkit. Okay, so let's bring those things first. So we need to bring create slice, okay, and create async thing. So in Redux toolkit, Redux thunk is included by default, and which allow create async thunk to perform delayed asynchronous logic before sending the process result to the reducer. So basically create async thunk is responsible for performing the asynchronous task. So that's why we are going to use the create async thunk to perform the asynchronous task. And create slice basically a function basically that accepts an initial state and an object of reducer function and a slice name, and then it automatically generate an action creator and action type that corresponded to the reducer and state. So with the help of Redux toolkit, you don't have to basically create a separate action file, action type file, reducer. So everything will be automatically generated with the help of create slice. Okay, and so let's write all the asynchronous logic with the help of Redux toolkit. So first basically we are going to fetch all the cocktail list and display on the home page. So let's write like export const fetch cocktails. Okay, so basically it will be responsible for fetching all the cocktails with the help of API. So we are going to use the create async thing, and basically this will accept a 3 parameter, that is an action type which will be the string, a callback function, okay, and an optional that is an object. Okay, so this will be the, so the third parameter will be the object, and which is an optional. Okay, so let's define first action type, so which will be the string. So since we are dealing with the cocktail, so let's define like cocktails, and this will be like fetch cocktails. Okay, fetch cocktails, and the second parameter we are going to have like callback function. Okay, so this callback function basically will make the API request. Okay, so we are going to use async here, and for making the API request we are going to use the fetch only. So return fetch, and we are going to paste the API here. So I'm just going to paste the API in this fetch. So I'm just going to paste the API here. So this API we are going to use for getting all the cocktails. So basically this API return the 25 cocktails. Okay, around 25 cocktails it returned. So you can see that it returned around 25 cocktail in my postman. So let's go into the Visual Studio Code. And once the promise is resolved after making the API request, so we are going to handle into the then method. So we will get the response, and this will be just response.json. Okay. And guys, the third parameter in the create async thunk is an optional. Okay. So we are done with the first action, that is responsible for fetching all the cocktails from this API. So now this create async thunk basically generated 3 promise lifecycle, that is pending, fulfilled and rejected. And this lifecycle we are going to handle in the extra reducer. So basically extra reducer handle the asynchronous request. Okay. So we are going to handle all these 3 lifecycle, that is pending, fulfilled and rejected. We are going to handle in the extra reducer, which will be the responsible for handling the asynchronous request. So we are going to use the create slice for that purpose only. So now what we can do here, const cocktail slice, and we are going to use here create slice. And so this will basically accept a slice name. So slice name you can give here like cocktail only, cocktails. And the second thing, it will accept the initial state. So you have to define the initial state. So initial state of our application will be like cocktails. So this will be the empty array, and we are also going to have the single cocktail. So this is also will be the array only. And loading we are going to use, so this will be the false initially. And error also we are going to use, so this will be the null. So we have defined the initial state. The third thing we are going to define, that is the extra reducer. So in extra reducer we are going to handle the 3 promise life cycle, that is generated by create async thunk, that is pending, fulfilled and rejected. So we are going to use here like fetch cocktails and pending. And after that we are going to have a state action, and this will be like state dot loading equal to true. Okay. So pending means our data is on the way, so we haven't received the data. So at UI we haven't received the data, so meanwhile we will display some kind of a spinner. So that's why I am using here loading. Okay. And once it got fulfilled, so fetch cocktail dot fulfilled, and this gonna have the state dot state action. And now what we are going to do, so state dot cocktails, and we can use here like action dot payload. So this will be like action dot payload and drinks. So why we are using like action dot payload dot drinks? So if you go back to the postman, so you can see that we have to target the drinks here. Okay, then you will get all these cocktails. So that's why we are using here action dot payload dot drinks. So I hope you get the point now. And state dot loading will be also false once we have received the data at our UI. And let's also define the rejected. You have to also give the comma here, otherwise you will get this error. And this will be the rejected. Okay, and in that case we can just have the action dot payload. Okay, and this will be the state dot error. Okay, now we have to export this one. So let's export default cocktail slice dot reducer. Now we are going to basically configure the store. So with Redux toolkit is very easy to configure the store. Only just 2 to 3 line of code required to configure the store with the help of Redux toolkit. So we need to bring the configure store from the Redux toolkit. So configure store, and let's import cocktail reducer. So cocktail reducer from features cocktail slice. Okay, and let's export default configure it store, and we can assign the key value to our reducer. So reducer, and inside that we are going to define the key. So I'm going to define the app and just assign the cocktail reducer. So with the help of app key, we are going to extract the state whatever we have in our store. So whatever the state we have defined here in our cocktail slide, so we are going to access all this state from store using the key value app. Okay, now we have to do some small adjustment in our index.js file. So first we need to bring the store. Also we need to bring the provider from React Redux. So let's bring the provider from React Redux. So from React Redux we need provider, and what we can do here, so provider, and let's cut out all this part and let's just paste it here, and we are going to define the store and just assign the store. So this way basically our React application can access the state that we have defined in our context slice. Okay, so guys, now we have configured the Redux toolkit successfully in our application, and you can also verify this one in the browser as well. So let's go into the browser, just do a refresh, and let's open the dev tool. So you can see the state here. So this is the initial state of our application. So we have cocktails with empty array, cocktail, empty array, loading false, error null. So this is the same initial state that we have defined in our cocktail slide.js file. So that means we have successfully configured the Redux toolkit in our next thing we are going to work on the search input field. So let's go into the Visual Studio Code. So we'll create one file here, search input.js, and we are also going to have a CSS file for this search input as well. Okay, and let's generate some snippet here first, and after that we are going to have some hooks. So we're going to need this hook in our search input file. So we are going to use a useref here, and after that we also need to bring the CSS file for this search input. So let's bring that one as well, search input.css, and I'm going to paste the CSS code for this search input.css file. So guys, I have just pasted the CSS code for this search input.css file. So you can copy all this CSS code if you wanted, okay, by pausing this video. So I hope you have copied all the CSS code, and let's go into the search input.js file, and here what we can do, so in return we are not going to use the div tag, and we are going to have the class name here. So the class name will be the section search. Okay, then we are going to have another class name with the form. So we are going to use the form tag, and the class name will be the search form. We don't need action for form, and in form we are going to have one div with the class name form control. Okay, and inside that we are going to have a label. So this will be the name, and we can give here like search cocktail. Okay, and we are going to have a input field here one. So this input field we're going to have the type text. So type will be the text only. Name we can give name only. You can give ID here. ID will be the name only, and let's use the use ref here as well. So const search value use ref, and we are going to use here ref, okay, instead of value. So search value you can give here, and guys, the rest of the logic we will write later once we have list down all the cocktail list. Okay, so the rest of the logic for this search input file we will write later. Okay, once we have display all the cocktail list on the home page. So what we can do here as of now, so go to the index.js file and just bring the search input component. Okay, and let's remove this one, we don't need this one, and let's go into the browser and let's just go to the home page for now. So now you can see that we have got this search input field, and we will write the logic later once we display all the cocktail list on this the next thing home page. Okay, we will be working on listing all the cocktail list in our home page. So we are going to define the component here. So let's define one component here to display all the cocktail list in our home page. So the component name will be like cocktail list dot js. Okay, and let's generate the snippet first. So from React we need some hooks like use state and use effect, and from React Redux also we need use selector and use dispatch, use selector and use dispatch from React Redux. So let's bring those things as well, use selector, and we also gonna need that action, that is fetch cocktails from our cocktail slice. So we need to go back to the Redux folder, then features folder, then cocktail slice, and we have to bring the fetch cocktails, and we are also going to use the link from React router DOM. So let's bring the link as well from React router DOM. Okay, and first what we are going to do, so first we are going to extract the state from our store with the help of use selector. So use selector we can use here for extracting the state that we have defined in our store. So we can do something like this, state dot app, because our cocktail reducer is registered with the app key. If you go back to the store.js file, okay, so with the help of this app key we can extract the state that we have defined in our cocktail slice. So we can extract the state, so we can extract all this state that we have defined in our cocktail slice with the help of app in our cocktail list.js file. For listing the cocktail we're gonna need cocktails. Okay, and we're also going to need loading, and we have to define one state here, so that will be like modified. cocktail. Okay, so set modified cocktail. This will be the empty array, and let's also store the reference of use dispatch into a dispatch variable. Okay, because we're gonna also need to dispatch this fetch cocktails action, and we are going to dispatch this fetch cocktail inside our use effect. So we are going to use effect here, and this will be the empty. That means this we are going to dispatch on the initial load of application. So whenever user load the application, we are going to dispatch this fetch cocktails. Okay, and we can also verify this one whether it's working or not. So let's just give your heading like cocktail list. Okay, so we have to bring this cocktail list here as well in our pages folder. Okay, so index.js we need to bring the cocktail list. So VS Code automatically import that component for me, and let's go into the browser, and now you can see that we have got all the cocktails. So we have around 25 cocktails. Okay, you can see that we have got all the cocktails. Okay, so let's go back to the Visual Studio Code, and now what we have to do first, so we need to write one more use effect, because we are going to change some names here. So you can see that we have some weird name here. For drink ID we have ID drink. So guys, couple of object property we are going to rename. Okay, so let's do that as well. So we are going to have one more use effect, and so that's why I have defined here modify cocktail state here. Okay, and this use effect only runs once we have the cocktail from our store, and this use effect will also run if this cocktails array get changed. Okay, so we can check here first if we have the cocktails, then we can have like new cocktails, and we can just map the cocktails because it is an array of objects, so we can use here, so we can use here map function. Okay, and from item we are going to destructure some of the property. So the property like id drink. Okay, so id drink we can destructure, then str drink, then str drink thumb, then str. So I'll just go and copy some of the thing, so this one need. Okay, and str glass, this is the last property that we need. And after that, so we are going to rename this property because this is looking little bit weird. Okay, so this will be like id drink name, so we can have like str drink image, so this will be like str drink thumb info, so this will be the str alcoholic, and glass, this will be str glass. So you can see that this all names are weird, so that's why I have renamed all this property. So we can use like id name image info glass, then we can set the modify cocktail to the new cocktails. Okay, so inside else If you don't have cocktail, then just set the modify cocktail to empty array. Okay, and let's also use the loading as well. So if we have the loading, that means our data is on the way. We haven't received those data at UI till now, so till that time we can display the loading. Okay, so some kind of spinner we can display. So in return we can have here like with the div class name spinner hyphen grow. Okay, and this will be having the role. So here we are using basically material design booster 5. Okay, and we can have one span tag and with the class name visually hidden. Okay, and we can have here like loading. That's it. Okay, and inside this return we can remove this one. This div is gonna having a container class name. Then we are going to have another class name. So we are going to use material design bootstrap class name here. So row hyphen columns hyphen 1, then row calls hyphen md hyphen 3, then g hyphen 4, and we can use here this modify cocktails. So we can use here map. Okay, and we can just destructure all this property that we have renamed here id name image info class from item. So item, and we can just destructure id name image glass and info. Okay, and then we can have one return here, and this inside return this will having a class name with the column. Okay, and we have to provide the key first. So key will be the id, and then we're gonna have the class name with the card. So card h hyphen 2. Inside that we're gonna having the image. Okay, with the class name card hyphen img top. Okay, and we are going to define the source. So we have already destructured the image from the item, and elt, in elt we can have the name. Okay, and after that we're gonna have the div with the class name card body. Okay, and we're gonna using the inline styling. So this will be the text align left. Okay, and inside div we're gonna have the h5 tag with the class name card hyphen title. Okay, and this title is gonna having the name. Okay, and we are going to just copy again one more time, and this will be the h4 tag, and this will be the glass. Okay, and we're gonna having one p tag with the class name card text. Okay, and inside that we're gonna having the info. Okay, and after that we are going to have one detail button. So we are going to use link, and we're gonna having a button with the class name btn info. Okay, and this will having a details, and this will basically navigate towards the single cocktail page. Okay, if user is interested to see the detail about that particular cocktail, that route is already registered in our app.js file, so we have to just specify the route here. So we have already registered this route. You can see that in our app.js file cocktail. Okay, and we have to specify the id. So this is the cocktail list, so we can give here id. Okay, and I think we are done. Okay, and we can verify this one whether it's working or not. So let's go into the browser. So now you can see that we are able to display all the cocktail list in our home page. Okay, so this is feature we are going to work on the displaying the single cocktail list on the cocktail route. So once user click on the detail, so it will show all the detail about that particular cocktail. So this thing we are going to work. So let's go back to the Visual Studio Code. So in order to display the information about the single cocktail, so we have to work on this file. Okay, so before working on this file, so first we have to work on the cocktail slice. So here first we need to write the action. What we can do here, so I am just going to copy paste this one, because only this thing we're gonna need to change this API part. Okay, so I'm just going to paste the API that is required here. So guys, this API we are going to use for fetching the single cocktail based on the ID. So first rename all this thing. Okay, so this will be the fetch single cocktail, and let's rename the action type as well. And we are going to receive this ID from our component. So let's just destructure the ID like in this way, and we have to define the 3 promised life cycle for this action as well. So I'm going to just do a copy this entire stuff and just paste it here, and we have to rename this one. So this will be the fetch single cocktail. Okay, and in that case also you have to target the drinks. Okay, and don't forget to change this one. So this time we are dealing with the single cocktail. Okay, so this array will only hold the single array of object, because this will be the responsible for displaying the single cocktail information. Okay, so again you have to target the action.payload.drinks. Okay, so we are done with the logic in our content slice.js for fetching the single cocktail. Let's go into this single cocktail.js file. So in this file first we need to bring some hook again, like use state, use effect. Okay, and we also gonna need link. Okay, from React router DOM, and we also gonna need use param because we're gonna need the ID. So once the user click on detail, so if you click on detail, so you can see that we need this ID. Okay, so this ID we can get with the help of use params, and we also need that action that we have just created in our cocktail slice. So we have to go to the redux folder, then features, then cocktail slice, and we can bring that fetch single cocktail, and we're gonna also need use selector and use dispatch from React Redux. Okay, so from React Redux we need use selector and use dispatch and use selector, and again I need the cocktail and the loading part from our store with the help of use selector. So state, and with the help of state.app key we can extract the cocktail and the loading state value. And again we have to define this thing again, so I'm just going to copy this part and just paste it here, because again we need to rename the existing property of the cocktail, because those names look little bit weird, so we have to rename some of the existing property of this cocktail. So you can see that we have this all weird name, so we will just rename some of the existing property of this cocktail. So that's why we're going to have again this modify cocktail. Okay, and we have stored the reference of use dispatch into a dispatch variable, and after that we have to dispatch this fetch single cocktail. Okay, so this use effect only runs once we have the id. Okay, so for id what we can do, so we can destructure the id with the help of use param. So whatever the id we have in a url, we can destructure the id with the help of use param, and this use effect only run once we have the id. So we can dispatch fetch single cocktail and we can just provide the id. Okay, and you can see that id is getting destructured here in our fetch single cocktail action. So let's go back to the single cocktail.js file, and again we have to write one more use effect. So this use effect will only run when we have the id and the cocktail. Okay, and here again we are going to check the cocktail length. Okay, so if we have some value, that means, so we are going to check the cocktail length, and if it's greater than 0, that means we have the cocktail, single cocktail in our array of object. And after that we are going to destructure some of the thing. Okay, so we are going to destructure some of the property from this cocktail. So this cocktail array basically holds the single array of object, because this cocktail array will be only responsible for displaying the single cocktail information. So this will only hold the single array of object. So this cocktail we can get at the 0th index, because it will hold only the single array of object. And we can destructure the things like str drink. Okay, and we can rename this to name. Okay, so likewise I'm going to do rename some of the existing property. Okay, so I'm just going to paste all those things here. I will rename all this property like str drink thumb to image, str alcoholic to info. So this all existing property I have just renamed here, and we are also going to use this ingredient. So for ingredient what we have to do, so we have to define one new ingredient. So ingredients. Okay, and so this will be the array, and inside that we are going to have all the ingredients. Okay, so str ingredient to, so likewise I'm going to define one by one. Okay, and after that we're gonna having the new cocktail. Okay, so const new cocktail equal to, so this will be having the name, image, info, category. So let's put enter here, category. After that we're gonna having the glass, then instructions and ingredients. Okay, then we can do like set modify cocktail to new cocktail, and if you don't have the cocktails then just do a set modify cocktail to null. Okay, so this use effect only runs once we have id and the single cocktail information. Okay, and here we have to check if we don't have any modify cocktail, that means we can return one h2 tag here. So h2 with the class name section hyphen title. Okay, and we can give here some description like no cocktail to display, else what we can do here, so we can just remove this one, we don't need this one, and inside else we're gonna return. So else let's first destructure from the modify cocktail. So from modify cocktail we need name, image, category, info, glass, instructions and ingredients. Okay, and here we can return, and inside that we're going to use fragment first, and we can check if there is a loading, then I'm going to display the spinner. Okay, so we're going to use the div with the class name spinner grow, and this will having a role with the status. Okay, and inside that we're gonna using the span tag with the class name visually hidden. Okay, and we can give here like loading with 3 dots. Okay, and here we're gonna display the all the information about that particular cocktail. So now we're gonna have the section tag with the class name section cocktail hyphen section. Okay, and all the styling with this class name I have already defined in our index.css file. Okay, so you can see that, and you don't have to worry about this CSS file because I have already provided the GitHub link for all the CSS file that I have used in this application. So inside this we're gonna have first link. Okay, so this link basically having the go back button, and we're gonna use button with the and we're gonna use button with the class name btn hyphen danger. Okay, and we can give some inline styling, so margin top, and this will be 2 rem, and the button value will be the go back. Okay, and after this link we're gonna have the h2 tag with the class name section title. Okay, so this is gonna having the name, and we're gonna have the another class name with the drink. Inside that I'm going to use image tag, so source we're gonna use image here only, in alt we're gonna use name. Okay, and then we're gonna have the div with the class name drink info. Okay, then we're going to use p tag. Then we're going to use a span tag with the class name drink hyphen data, and this will be the name. Okay, and after that we're going to having the name. So this thing is going to be repetitive, so I'm just going to copy this p tag couple of times. So let's copy around 4 times. So this will be the category. Okay, so we can use here category. This will be the info. So this will be the info only, and this will be the class. Let's give class here, and after that we're going to have the instruction as well. So this will be the instruction. Okay, and at last we are going to display the ingredients. Okay, so this will be a little bit different. Okay, so ingredients ingredients. Okay, and let's remove this one because ingredients having the array here. Okay, you can see that we have ingredients in the array. So what we can do here, so we can use here map. Okay, so ingredients dot map, we can have item and index, and we can just return. So if we have the item, then we're going to use the span tag with the key, and if you don't have any ingredient, yes, I'm just going to return the null, and here I'm going to display all the ingredients in the span tag. So we can use just item, and we have to provide the key as well. So key here I'm going to use index. Okay, so I think I'm pretty much done with this single cocktail, and I think we are not using the image. So where is the image tag? Okay, so here it will be the image. Okay, so let's update this one. So we are done with this single cocktail, and let's go into the browser and verify whether this is working or not. So let's click on the detail. Okay, so we have got this cannot read property of undefined. Okay, so what we can do here, so let's go into the browser. So let's refresh this application first, and let's click on detail. So now you can see that we have got these ingredients. Okay, and let's see the other ingredients as well. So you can click on this one as well. So you can see that we have got this name, category, info, class, instruction, ingredients, all this information about this particular cocktail. The next thing we are going to work on the searching the cocktail. And guys, we have already did some little bit work on our search input component. So let's complete that search input component. So let's go back to the Visual Studio Code. So first we're gonna need to write the action in our cocktail slice.js file. So let's copy this one, let's rename this one, so it will be the fetch search cocktail, and let's also rename this one. Okay, and we have to also change this API. Okay, So this time we are gonna receive the search text, okay, from our component. So search text, and we have to change this API. So I'm just going to paste the API that is required for searching the cocktails. So we are going to use this API for searching the cocktail, and we have to define again 3 promise life cycle in our extra reducer. So I'm just going to copy this 3, okay, and let's paste it here, and let's rename this one to fetch search cocktail, okay. Okay, and we are going to update the state of the cocktails, okay, because it can result more than one cocktail with the search value, okay. So we are going to use here state.cocktails, and we have to target again the drinks only, okay. So we are done with the logic in our cocktail slice.js file. So let's go into the search input.js file. So inside this we're gonna have first on submit. So on submit we're gonna having the handle submit, okay, and let's quickly define this handle submit, and this handle submit will receive the event, and this will having only just e.prevent default, okay, and we have to define the on change, okay. So on change will having the handle change. Let's define this one as well. So handle change, okay, and this handle change we're gonna have the search text, okay, search text. Since we are using the used ref, so we can get the value like search value dot current dot value, okay, and we have to bring that first action that we have created in our cocktail slice.js file. So we need to go back to the redux folder, features, cocktail slice, and we have to bring that action fetch search cocktail, and we also gonna need here use dispatch from our react redux to dispatch the action, okay. And first, before dispatching the action, let's store the reference of use dispatch into a dispatch variable, and here we can dispatch, okay. So fetch search cocktail, and we can dispatch the search text, okay. And we have to also do few more adjustment in our index.js file, because sometime if you don't get the cocktail by providing the value into the search input field, then in that case you have to display some content, okay. So first let's go into the index.js file. So index.js file where we are listing out all the cocktail list. So we have to go back to this cocktail list component, and here we have to check like if you don't have the cocktails, okay, then simply return with some message like, so the message will be like no cocktails matched your search criteria, okay. And we can verify this one whether it's working or not. So let's go back to the browser, refresh this application. Let's give here the cocktail name Adam. So you can see that we have got only the 4 cocktail with the Adam keyword. Okay, and you can also view the information about this particular cocktail. Okay, and this go back is also working. So guys, we have built our first application, that is cocktail app, with the help of redux toolkit and a create async thunk in our React application. So I hope you have got some level of understanding about this redux toolkit package, and if you have still some doubt like how to make other API requests like delete and put, so don't worry about that. In the next section we are going to perform full CRUD operation with the help of redux toolkit and create async thunk in our React application. So I will see you in the next section.